There was a pile of poop right outside my apartment. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you the story of the time that I put exlax in some cupcakes for a prank. Now, before I jump into the video, make sure you give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed and stay subscribed to my channel. I upload new videos every Friday, so be sure to ring the bell so that you don't miss out on any time I post a video. Now I'm gonna jump right into it. So this happened in July of last year. However, the stuff that was going on that led up to me doing this prank happened a couple months. It had been going on for a couple months before that. So that's where I'm gonna start. Now, I had moved into this apartment in, I wanna say like around February. And at the time I only had one roommate. And within, it's like a couple months, maybe April, I had two other roommates move into the apartment. And it was shortly after that that stuff started happening. So the first incident happened when me and my boyfriend at the time, just for reference, he's now my ex, but my boyfriend at the time, we had gone to Pizza Hut for dinner and I had some leftovers. So I brought them home and I put them in the fridge. Now the next day, I want to say, whatever the next time was, I went back to eat them, they were gone. So first I texted my roommates to see if they knew anything about it, and they hadn't seen them. So then I asked my boyfriend and I was like, hey, do you have my pizza? Like, I didn't leave it in the car, did I? Or did it end up in your fridge? Like, I'm just covering all my bases. He's like, no, I don't have it. So I'm like, you know, maybe this is just me, maybe I left it somewhere or whatever. He didn't have it. So I'm like, okay, you know, maybe it got thrown away. You know, I ransacked the fridge, it wasn't there. So I'm like, you know, maybe it got thrown away on accident. It's fine, whatever. I was a little disappointed because we all love our leftovers. We take them home for restaurants. We're excited to have them the next day for lunch, right? So I was a little disappointed, but I was like, whatever, I'll live. So that incident, you know, came and went. And then I don't remember, because this was a year ago about, I don't remember exactly the order in which things happened or what exactly happened next, but I do remember specifics of what other food started disappearing. I had a box of fudge rounds, and now something to know about me, I don't buy stuff like that all the time because I try to eat healthy, plus I'm not well-to-do. I don't have like a ton of money, like I'm not dirt poor or anything, so if you're thinking, like, don't worry, but I just don't have extra money for that kind of thing, so I don't buy them very often. So, you know, and when I do, I make them last. There's 12 in a box. They're gonna last me a couple weeks. I'll eat like one at a time, maybe every couple of days, whatever. I make them last. So I knew that I'd only eaten like one or two. I went to go eat one and I was able to see there was like, I want to say like 3 or 4 left. So I was able to tell that they'd eaten like 6 or 7 of them. Whoever this was, I didn't know. Like, there's a bunch of these that are gone. And at first I'm thinking maybe one of my roommates also has fudge rounds and they got confused and ate some of mine instead, you know, but nobody else had fudge rounds. So I'm like, this is really weird. So I started kind of taking things more serious. I'm like, this is not just me, because this is like junk food that I don't buy very often, and when I do, I eat it slowly and make it last. There's no way I'm dreaming this up. Someone else is eating my fudge rounds. The next thing I kind of remember disappearing was I had gone grocery shopping, and and this was probably a few weeks after the incident with the fudge rounds, I got these cookies. These are the special like Walmart cookies that are the white sugar cookies with the colored frosting, and it comes out with the different colors for the different holidays, and they have the sprinkles on them. I don't know about y'all, but I love those cookies. Those are like so good. And again, I don't buy them very often. I know they're really bad for me, and they're like $2.50 a box. I'm not gonna spend the money all the time. And when I do, again, I make them last. So I had bought them, and this was different. I came to eat one or whatever. Someone else had opened them. I hadn't even opened them yet. I hadn't eaten any. And someone else had opened them. So I'm like, okay, we need to start thinking, like, who's doing this, whatever. And I further asked my roommates, I was like, hey, you know, more of my food is disappearing, whatever. And I texted another of my roommates just to see if she knew anything about it. I think I was texting them separately, and she was like, well, I hope you figure out who it is. They're eating my food too. And I was like, oh, okay. And then my one roommate, she told me, she was like, you know, I have friends that come over a lot, because that's what I'm starting to think, like, do you guys have friends over and they're eating my stuff? And she was like, well, I have friends come over, but I buy food and keep it in my room for them to eat when they're over, so that they won't eat other people's food. So I'm like, okay, well, she's got her bases covered. Like, I don't know what's going on. So this is when I get the idea for this genius prank. And the prank happened in July, so this was probably drawn out over a couple months. They weren't like eating me out of house and home, but it was enough that I'm like, you know what? I need to do something about it. So I get the idea, let's get some pizza and lace it with exlax, because they had already eaten some of my pizza before. So now clearly pizza is something this person likes, whoever it is. I'm like, let's lace it with exlax, but then I'm also thinking, does exlax have a flavor? Are they gonna know? So I'm talking to my boyfriend's dad, who I actually work for, and I was telling him what we were thinking about doing, and he was like, no, don't do pizza. You need to get like these gourmet, like chocolate cupcakes with the sprinkles and the frosting, and lace them with chocolate exlax, which I didn't know chocolate exlax was a thing. So he's like, you just get the little chocolate exlax squares, you crumble them up on these cupcakes, and it's gonna go great, you know? There you go, boom. So I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. So me and my boyfriend go to like Walmart that night to get these cupcakes. Now, I will be inserting pictures for your viewing pleasure. So just to preface though, these were not like Hostess cupcakes, because those don't have sprinkles, and you'd have to push the exlax inside the cupcake, and then there'd be holes, and it'd be kind of crunchy, and it would be suspicious. Plus, the whole idea, you'd have to like unwrap it to put the exlax in there, and then a plate of unwrapped Hostess cupcakes already looks suspicious, if you ask me. So we went to the Walmart like bakery section, and we got this tray of a dozen little cupcakes with the frosting on them, and I'll insert a picture up here somewhere. And they had the little frosting, and they already had sprinkles. Now this whole incident, I'm just gonna say, this kind of made me realize the swirly frosting on chocolate cupcakes kind of looks like the poop emoji. Is that just me? Comment below, do you agree with me on this? I don't know, maybe that's just me and I have an odd mind. But anyway, we got the mini cupcakes. Now they did have an option for a tray of like, I think it was 4 bigger cupcakes that we thought about doing. But those, you know, you can only prank a few people, because, you know, you eat one at a time, there's only 4 in there. Or like, we can get a lot more people if we have 12 mini ones, and they look really rich, so they'll only eat one at a time, you know, and then there'll be more for everybody else, whatever. So we get those, and then we get the exlax, and we take them to my boyfriend's house to start getting them together. So we open up the exlax, and we made sure to only use like the recommended dosage per cupcake. And this was what his dad had told us too, because we don't want anybody to like OD. We don't want this to come back to haunt us. So we just do, I think it was like 2 of the little squares is like 1 dosage. So we just crumbled them up and put them on the cupcakes. Now mind you, we ate 2 of the cupcakes before we did the exlax, because we were like, you know, most of my food that's been eaten like I had already eaten some of it first, so that's probably gonna make it look more appealing. Like, oh, these look yummy, like someone else has already eaten them. Clearly they're fair game. They look good. They must be good because somebody else already ate a couple. So that's kind of what we're going for. Even though they did open my sealed cookies, we still thought they're more likely to go for these if they've already been opened and 2 of them have already been eaten. So we got to work putting the exlax on them. And as you can see in the picture, there is the sprinkles and the exlax. Now, the sprinkles that were already there is the dark colored chocolate. The light colored chocolate is the exlax crumbles. So we thought these look pretty convincing. They're like gourmet. And you know, I can testify the cupcakes were really yummy, you know, before we put the exlax on them. You know, we ate them and they're really good. So like they're gonna love these. And I tasted a tiny piece of the exlax, not enough to mess with me, but just enough to tell it tastes good. It tastes like chocolate. If you didn't know it was exlax, I don't think you'd know. Like, you would think it was chocolate if you didn't already know. So we're like, this is great. So we text pictures to his dad and everything. We've got it all set up. So we come home and leave the cupcakes on my counter. And this just looks like, you know, we went grocery shopping, decided to treat ourselves. We ate some, whatever, you know, they look like fair game. So we kind of leave them there and kind of went on our merry way. I don't remember for sure what order this all happened in or how close together this all was, but all of this shenanigans I'm about to tell you next, it all happened within the next like few days of each other. So it was either that night or maybe the next night. I was in the car somewhere with my boyfriend and I got a text from my roommate, and this was the one roommate that had already lived there when I moved in, and she was really nice and I never had a problem with her. So she was texting me like, hey, is it okay if I have one of your cupcakes? And I'm like, what do I do? She asked. She was nice about it. I now know it's not her eating my food because she's asking me politely. I don't want her to get like diarrhea or whatever. What do I do? So I was on the phone with my dad at the time, or maybe I called him when I got this text. I don't really remember. I was like, you know, what do I do? And he was like, well, just tell her that you're saving them. You know, it's not a lie because you're saving them for whoever's been eating your food without asking. So just tell her you're saving them. So I felt bad because I totally would have let her have one. But I was like, no, sorry, I'm saving them, whatever. And she wrote back, oh, okay. So, you know, she didn't eat any, so it was good. Then it was maybe the next day. I'm not remembering for sure. It was in the next couple of days. I noticed 1 or 2 get eaten. I'm like, oh, it's working. Somebody ate them. And then it was the next night, or within the next couple nights, I get home from somewhere and there was this party going on at my apartment with all these people that I didn't know. And the roommate, whose friends I suspected they were, who I mentioned she had friends over, but she bought her own food for them to eat, she wasn't home. So I'm like, this is weird, like her friends are over and she's not home, whatever. But I'm like, this is great, they're partying, things are gonna get crazy, they're going to eat my cupcakes. I'm calling my boyfriend, I'm like, this is great. My cupcakes are gonna get devoured tonight, this is great. I also noticed that night, there was a pile of poop right outside my apartment. And it had already been like stepped in and tracked everywhere. And I'm like, I wonder, like, this is great. Maybe someone ate my cupcakes and then they just couldn't hold it and they let it out outside. They couldn't get to the bathroom. So I'm like, this is great. And this guy walked past and he had Subway. Mind you, this is like 1 a.m. that these people are partying. And he has his like Subway bag and he's like, oh, someone doo-dooed. And I'm like, who uses that vocabulary? Really? Someone doo-dooed? Yeah, so that was pretty funny. I later found out, unfortunately, that it was just dog doo. Someone, like their dog had, because my roommate had a dog, and he had pooped inside, and then someone dumped it, pun intended, I guess. They had just dumped it outside, which that's like equally weird, if not more so. Like, I get it if you have a bowel issue and you can't hold it, that's a little more understandable than deliberately taking a pile of dog doo and dumping it outside. Like, there are other better ways of disposing of dog poop, so don't be that person who just dumps it outside the apartment for everybody to step in. Little just PSA, don't be that person, please. So anyway, it turned out that was not a result of my cupcake prank, but it was still funny to think about until I figured out what it actually was. So I'll be inserting pictures, a progression of, I noticed more and more cupcakes were getting eaten. So I noticed maybe like, I think the first one, I'm not sure I really got a picture of that, but the first time I noticed like 2 more had been eaten. And then I noticed like 4 more, you know, and it got to where there were only 3 left. And I was like, this is great. That means like 7 of my cupcakes got eaten. Like, this is great. Like 7 of them got eaten. And at that point, I kind of decided, you know, and my boyfriend's dad was kind of saying too, like, I think the prank is over. You should throw the cupcakes away because, you know, what if there's one of these people is eating 2 or 3 cupcakes at a time? You know, you don't know. So I ended up throwing them away, but it ended up with 3 left, and it was really funny because I'd be checking and I'd see like little crumbles of the exlax on the counter from where they'd gotten the cupcake out. So that was like really funny. So that's kind of where it ended, and unfortunately I never really heard anything about it. I never heard like, oh dude, so-and-so was on the toilet for an hour. Like, I never heard anything about it. So that was kind of disappointing, but it was fun to see that people were actually eating the cupcakes. And I will throw this out there. Later, after this prank happened, my roommate who'd been out of town, she came home, and sure enough, it was her friends. She was like, can I talk to you? I figured out who's been eating your food. It's my friends. They were eating your food. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I thought they were better friends than that. And I'm like, it's okay, you know, I'm just glad to know who's doing it. I'm glad to know that it won't be happening anymore. And then she offered to like pay me back for the food and stuff, and she felt terrible. So the situation got resolved. So yeah, that is my story time of when I laced some chocolate cupcakes with exlax. So I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and stay subscribed to my channel. I upload every Friday, so be sure to ring the bell so that you get notified every time I post a video. I will see you next time. Bye guys.